Jake Crain of Crain and Company. Jake, there's a lot of smoke. There's a lot of vague tweets. There's a lot of speculation about something coming soon with conference realignment, whether that be Florida State, which seems to be where a lot of stuff is pointed. Clemson, North Carolina, Virginia, all schools that are mentioned. What are the chances that just like, and this has been referenced, Josh Payton referenced this. I know he was on your show not too long ago. What are the chances that we get an announcement at SEC Media Days like we did 3 years ago with Texas, Oklahoma? What are you setting that line at?
Well, at this point, TJ, I don't think anything would shock me. And they announce these things at certain times on purpose. It's like politics. I would not rule anything out. I wouldn't rule out if Florida State decides to join a conference in Mars or something during SEC Media Days. But, my thing is, and when you look at the Pac-12 going the way of the dodo bird, and it seems like the ACC is next, what I've always said is, to me, because there are some people saying, Florida State to the Big Ten, it makes so much sense. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not, I do know that lawyers are amazing at finding arguments, but to me, it would seem like a much easier transition when you're locked into a contract for Florida State and really any of the teams from the ACC to go to the SEC, because both of the media rights companies are the same company. So therefore, you're dealing with the same administrators overlooking this. I think if you're trying to get out of a deal, it'd be a lot easier to say, you know what, we're going to go from our SEC media deal and the ACC, deal with the same people, to the SEC media deal or the ESPN media deal in the SEC, as opposed to saying, you know what, we got to deal with the SEC or a deal with ESPN, and we're going to go to a conference that's got to deal with Fox. Like, those are your two fighting worlds right there. So if Florida State's going anywhere, in my opinion, it's the Southeastern Conference. If any of the teams in the ACC that the SEC wants are going anywhere, it's to the SEC, in my opinion. So nothing would shock me if that announcement comes. Hell, it worked for Texas and Oklahoma. I was there at SEC Media Days when it got announced, and you thought you thought it was Red Dawn 3. I mean, you thought we were being parachuted in by the Russians. So nothing would shock me, TJ. And you know what? That'd be great. We'd love to have Florida State over in the SEC, man.
What? Yeah. Well, you're right though, but it does feel like the geographical fit, just the program fit, just every fit feels like the SEC.
Yeah. Well, I'll say the most important fit is the media. The geography doesn't matter anymore, TJ. Are you kidding me? We got schools from Palo Alto and Berkeley in the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not Christopher Columbus, but I can look at a map.
And you're spot on too, because I am in complete agreement that, to me, this is less about. Now, I think Florida State has a say, like they've got to accept a deal, but this is much less about what Florida State wants, what you want, what I want, what the SEC and what the Big Ten want. I think Fox and ESPN are the ones kind of controlling all of this. Like they're behind the curtain guys.
Well, where's all this money coming from? It's coming from the media deals.
Yeah.
Like, who's paying out the money in the media deals? It's the media companies. So I firmly believe we're heading to two super leagues, and one will probably be called ESPN and the other will probably be called Fox.
Texas and Oklahoma joining the SEC this year. They'll obviously be at Media Days for the first time, and hopefully we can get some good sound bites out of that from Sark or somebody. But thoughts on, and I've actually seen some of your takes on these, and I very much agree, but I feel like everybody has a hot take. Oh, this team will never cut it. This team will certainly be, more ready now. This team won't have the longevity. Texas, Oklahoma, how do they fare in the SEC? Short-term, long-term, who's set up better for success? Can either one of them make the playoff right away? What are your thoughts there?
Well, if we're going to talk short-term, and by short-term, I mean 1 to 2 years, I think you'd be crazy not to say Texas sits better than Oklahoma right now, because they have more experience coming back at more important places. We talked about in the earlier segment, Oklahoma's got a brand new quarterback and a brand new offensive line, basically. Not that some of the guys have never played before. They went to the portal, but they lost a godly amount of snaps. I think they lost 9 total offensive linemen out of that room last year, 8 or 9, something crazy like that. So going into the Southeastern Conference, that's not a great recipe. It's like being a fat kid showing up at a 5K. You're not going to make it. So year one, at least, I would go with Texas. But it's funny. We talked with Jesse Simonton from On 3 about this on the show, on the Tuesday show. And I asked, over a 5-year span, who are you buying, Texas or Oklahoma? And it's a tough question because it's hard to short the Sooners with what they've been able to do when you really look at the numbers over the past 10 to 15 years. What I'll say is I think both of the programs are set up so much better than they have been because they're both physical now. Even when Lincoln Riley was at Oklahoma, the offense was somewhat physical, but the defense was paper mache. I mean, Texas was a running joke about it being Club Med until an offensive guy, believe it or not, took over in Sark, and you did have Bo Davis, who's now at LSU. We'll see how that fares. But both these teams have a new level of physicality, which will help them in the SEC. But what I always say about the SEC is it is not a one-off. It is not, oh, we just got to beat Bama. Oh, we just got to beat Georgia and we're going to be fine. No, it is the week outside of Vanderbilt. It is the week in, week out grind meat machine that is the Southeastern Conference. You can say what you want about, the SEC's top heavy. That's a bag of bullshit, in my opinion. Now, you clip that out, edit that out. I think that's one of the most incredibly casual takes of all time. If you ask any coach, I would much rather go play at Boston College, at Virginia, at NC State. I'd much rather go play at Michigan State, at Indiana, at Illinois. I would much rather go play at Baylor, at TCU, at Texas Tech, which I like Joey McGuire, than have to go play at Tennessee, then turn around and play LSU, then turn around and have to play Kentucky, and then here comes Georgia. Here comes Texas now. It's the week in, week out. You're playing against rosters with NFL players, and 99.9% of environments you go on the road are absolutely hostile. And every place outside of Vanderbilt and Kentucky, I guess you could say, lives and dies off how that football team does.
You mentioned in another segment, like you said, Auburn hasn't had a winning season in how many years? 3?
3.
Oklahoma has to go to Jordan-Hare in an environment where Auburn has probably an 85+% chance of being 4-0. That's not, and they haven't had a win. And I think it goes to prove your point. South Carolina, they ended up blowing the game. But you remember the environment when Florida went to South Carolina last year?
TJ, I coached against South Carolina.
William
It's
Bryce
nuts.
is insane. And
I would much rather go play a 7-0 Miami on the road than go play a 4-3 Auburn team in Jordan-Hare.
Yeah.
Any day of the week. I'd say the same thing for Texas A&M. And I'm not trying to knock on Miami fans, but it's just the truth. I think they'll be the first ones to tell you. I mean, it's not every environment is created equally.
Not at all. No. And you get little pockets of that. I think Raleigh is a tough place. NC State's a tough place to go.
Been there
play.
before.
That's a tougher than most of. Now, I mean, obviously, Florida State, Clemson are going to be the top of your ACC, but Raleigh's a tough one. Outside of that, though, there are no tough environments in the ACC. It's just. Yeah. I think SMU is probably going to be a top 5 environment this year.
Watch out for SMU too, though. Watch out for Red. I think he may be the next coach at Arkansas. Remember, I said that.
Yeah, we'll clip that. We won't edit that part out. So, I'll ask you this, and we'll wrap up. Thoughts on everything you said about Florida State. I'd assume your thoughts on Clemson kind of echo the same. Do they need to, are they in any trouble of just kind of it feels like they're trending the wrong way? I don't think they'd get left out, but it doesn't feel like there's the same kind of fervor for them that there is for Florida State right now.
Well, no, and look, I mean, you can say recency bias. Obviously, Florida State having the year they had last year, even though the way it ended, I thought was an absolute disdain and stain on the game of college football. But it feels like and again, we got to remember, Clemson was I wouldn't say average. They were above average. But Dabo lifted them to a point that they hadn't been in so long. I can't remember. He let them sip from the cup. He gave them the filet mignon. And when you get the filet mignon, you don't want to go back and eat bologna again anymore. But if he's not going to evolve, they're going to dissolve. It's hard to tell the king. We're seeing this in politics right now. It's hard to tell somebody who got you to a certain point, like Dabo Swinney did with Clemson, hey, man, we just got to put you on the raft and push you down the river. But if he doesn't change, where are the Nuke Hopkins at? Where are the T. Higgins at? Like, where's the Justin Rosses at with Clemson? I mean, the skill position, Will Shipley, and I love me some Will Shipley. But if Will Shipley's your best skill player with what you've had at Clemson, you are in trouble to be able to try and recreate the results that you did with Deshaun and with Trevor and all these guys. And I like Cade Klubnik. And Garrett Riley's got to be better calling plays in the red zone. But I'll go back to what I said about Peyton Thorne. It's a lot easier when you have help. I feel like Cade Klubnik doesn't have a lot of help, TJ, at Clemson. No. And unless somebody just comes out of nowhere, and they could, right? They could. I feel like we're going to be in this revolving door with Dabo Swinney, who just won't go get a new toaster. I know you've had that toaster for 20 years, dog. I know you and that toaster have been through a lot, but it doesn't work anymore. Go buy a new toaster, and he just won't do it.
Yeah, the idea, and again, not to be so hard on Dabo, but again, we give him his praise for winning 2 titles. So the fact that he said the words, most of the guys in the portal aren't good enough to come play here.
Yeah,
and then the guy that caught the game-winning touchdown for Florida State was a guy that they got out of the portal. Like, it just Dabo says a lot of things that are great. He says a lot of dumb things too, but that was one that.
Well, you know what it reminded me of, TJ? It reminded me of the friend you have that hits on the girl at the bar that's like better looking than he is, and then when she says no, he's like, "Oh, I didn't think you were cute anyway."
Yeah, you're a 5.
Yeah, I felt sorry for you, so I just wanted to come talk to you.
All right, where can people find you? Where can they follow you and get more of your work?
Definitely, man. If you're on X or Twitter or whatever they're calling it this week, it's Jake Crain _ Crain. Crain and Company, we go live each weekday, 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. Central. Talk a lot of Florida State. I'm rooting for DJU, man. I like the guy a lot. I just don't trust him to make the routine throws routine. And if y'all get down, I don't know if he can throw y'all back in it. That's a great segue to go follow me. Let me trash Florida State real quick.
Okay, here.
No, it's yeah.
I'll give you a chance to redeem yourself. I had not thought about this. I saw Andy Staples say it, and I did a video on it on the FSU only channel. I think, and listen, it doesn't take much to get my biased homer ass to start drinking Kool-Aid, man. I'll drink it. The in-ear communication this year is going to be bigger for DJU than any other quarterback. And those weren't Andy's words, but he did kind of mention how big it would be for DJU. For Mike Norvell, a guy who calls the offense, and I think I agree with that. And it kind of has me a little more calm. Now, obviously, Mike Norvell's not able to make the throws, but just that constant reminder of here's the purpose of the play. Here's what we're looking for. Here's what we're doing. Yeah. Keep it in perspective. I think that probably helps DJU more than – I think it helps him more than a Graham Mertz. I think it helps him more than other – Jackson Dart or whatever. So I think that's a big piece.
Well, I am worried that, DJU's played in college for 33 years, and you're going to have to tell him where to throw the ball. That worries me. But, the biggest problem is, and I said this about Joe Milton, okay? And I feel the same way right now, TJ, about Drew Aller at Penn State, even though he's younger than these guys. I've seen enough tape. I can say the same thing about Peyton Thorne. When you struggle to make the routine throws on a consistent basis, Mike Leach said it best, it's hard to put accuracy into somebody. And very rarely do we see a guy make that accuracy jump the way we saw Haynes King do it last year, right, for Georgia Tech. And I hope DJU has it in him. I really, really do. But until he proves, there's a saying in baseball, you can't give him 28 outs. Give him 27 outs. Make the routine plays routine. And until DJ shows me that he can make the routine throws routine, I just feel like he's a better running Joe Milton with a little bit of a weaker arm.
Yeah. Well, I think Florida State had some luck with it with Jordan Travis, so I don't know if they can capture
Norvell's the
magic.
Caesar Milan of quarterback coaches, man.
Whatever he did there, just Control-C, Control-V, please. And
yes.
And figure out a way to do it again, Mike. Just show us one more time. So, Jake, I appreciate you a ton for hanging out, man. This was a ton of fun, and I'm sure we'll talk to you soon, bud.
TJ, anytime, buddy. Keep killing it. And yeah, dude, it's let's get football season here. I'm ready.
Just can't come fast enough. All right. Thanks, buddy.
See ya.